Get more confidence. Get that promotion. Get moving up the corporate ladder. Get a better gig with an MBA from Mace Business School at Texas A&M University. Whether you're starting out or stepping up, now you can take your career to a whole new level with a full-time MBA in College Station and convenient weekend options at Houston City Center. Texas A&M has a program to suit your schedule. Visit mba.tamu.edu. And Giga Maggie.
Howdy, welcome to Mace MasterCast. I'm Shannon Deere, the Interim Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs, here with your rad host, Ben Wiggins.
Hi, I'm Ben Wiggins, the non-interim co-MasterCast hosting specialist with graduate programs, and I'm here with the interim. Hi, Shannon.
Hi. I feel like you should have done that.
You're pretty rad, too.
I feel like you should have done that in like your California accent because I called you rad.
Hi, I'm Ben Wiggins, the
Okay, that's enough.
Interim.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful day in Aggieland. How was your weekend?
It was good. I would like to go on record to say that in 2 weeks, wakeboarding is opening up again.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan told me to say goodbye to all my friends because that was the only place I was going to go from now on, but that's not true. I'm going to really try to be a little more balanced this summer and wakeboard once or twice a week. Are you proud of me for being so moderate?
No, I want you to wakeboard more.
Okay. My body is tired, but no.
Yeah, I still get to hang out with you regardless because you have to do the MasterCast with me.
That's true. I do like that. I can't do any other workouts when I wakeboard. I mean, if I wakeboard a lot, like I can't go rock climbing with Ryan if I'm wakeboarding.
You can't do CrossFit with me.
Can't do CrossFit with you. I have a hard time running because then I'm like too sore to wakeboard or too sore to run. You know, it's a whole thing. So it kind of takes over my life a little bit if I do it too much. So I'm going to try to be a little moderate. I also like how I asked you if you were proud of me for being moderate before I've actually been moderate. Like we've not implemented this moderation.
Also, how you asked me if I was proud of you and I was a supportive friend by saying, no, I'm not proud of you.
No, but I'm very pleased with myself. No, I'm not proud of you. Also, Ryan tells me that he shouldn't have to be proud of me for doing the minimum of what I was supposed to do anyway, which is not unfair.
Also, I think you and I probably both spend a lot of time being pleased with ourselves.
I mean, it's not it's not the most infrequent thing that happens in my life.
The only person who's pleased with herself more often than the two of us is probably my wife.
Yes, she is good at that.
She enjoys being pleased with herself.
Mm-hmm. I can understand why.
Yes.
I'm pleased with her most of the time too.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
What do we got?
Today on the show, we have Dr. Jon Jasperson. Dr. Jasperson is the Assistant Dean of Learning, Transformation, and Academic Technology. He is also a clinical professor for the Information and Operations Management Department at Mace Business School. His teaching emphasis is on system development and database management systems through a number of management information systems courses. So he does all of the awesome Python and database management that everyone is so interested in right now. Dr. Jasperson has chaired countless university and college committees and served as the director of several key programs in the college, including the MS Business Program and the Center for the Management of Information Systems. Dr. Jasperson is who I go to when I have a question about rules because he's so good at them. And I'm like, let's just ballpark this. And he knows the exact rule that needs to be addressed in any situation. So I appreciate Dr. Jasperson as a resource to me. Dr. Jasperson earned his PhD in business administration with an emphasis in information management science from Florida State University. His research interests include the adoption, use, management, and implementation of information technology in organizational settings, with a focus on how organizations give incentives to their employees to use IT in their work. Professor Jasperson and his wife have 5 sons, 3 daughters, and 2 grandsons. Welcome, Dr. Jasperson, to the show.
Let's get into it. We welcome Jon Jasperson to the show. How was your weekend?
It was fantastic, thanks. Had a great weekend.
What is your favorite superpower?
When I was young, I have 2 brothers that one's a year younger than me and one's 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
And the 3 of us used to talk a lot about scenarios of if we were 1 inch tall. So as an example, in the springtime on the ranch where I grew up on. Our ranch house and barn were right next to a sloping hill in Wyoming. We get lots of snow there. So in the springtime, the snow starts to melt. And so we would have running water through the yard next to our barn and get really muddy. And so we would go out and use shovels to kind of dig channels for the water to run in to get to the creek bed.
Okay.
And so we used to think, man, if we were 1 inch tall, we could make this little canoe and we could get in this little river of water right here and just have whitewater raft canoeing
Right.
down to get to the creek. So
now you grew up where?
I grew up in Wyoming,
Wyoming.
horse and cattle ranch.
Okay.
So the town is called Thane, Wyoming.
Thane, Wyoming.
When I was there, population 195.
Nice. And you were the oldest of three, brother 1 year younger, 3 years younger?
So great question. I am quote unquote the oldest of three, but my dad, I grew up in a blended family.
Okay.
My dad was married twice. So I'm the oldest of 4 children from the second marriage.
Okay.
But my older siblings, dad had custody and they grew up with us. And so I consider myself right in the middle.
Okay.
So 2 older brothers, an older sister, 2 younger brothers, a younger sister. Something interesting about that is my 6 siblings, their names are Kent, Chris, Kelly. Those are my older siblings. Cade, Corey, and Carrie as my younger siblings. And I'm right in the middle.
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah.
So they broke the pattern with me a little bit there.
Right. Well, and your name has an interesting spelling to it. Can you, just the 30-second version of that story?
Yeah. So the really short version is my dad made it up.
Okay.
Slightly longer version, as all parents, when you're expecting a child, you have these conversations about names.
Sure.
My dad says that on the day he was coming to the hospital to pick us up and come home, he had a revelation. He should name me Sean and spell it Jon.
Okay.
Now, the interesting part of the story is he actually convinced my mom of that. And so the hospital records, my original birth certificate, all have my name, Sean spelled Jon.
Yeah.
And so technically in the diacritic marks, that's called the Grave accent mark.
Okay. So is the most correct way to pronounce your name actually Jon?
I think if you really had a linguist break it down, yes.
Well, but you just say Sean?
Sean. Yes.
Okay. All right. Glad we got that figured out.
And if you search for me on the internet, you'll see that everywhere I list my name, I put my name, I put the Gaelic or the Scottish spelling of Sean, Sean, in parentheses between my first and last name to imply that
this is how you pronounce it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What was your very first job?
8 years old, Dad said, Sean, you have to learn how to milk the cow. My next older brother, Kelly, and I had that assignment for 6 or 8 months as he taught me how. So he'd sit on one side of the cow. I would sit on the other side of the cow, and we'd be like, on your marks, get set, go. And then we'd race to see who could finish their side of the cow first while we were milking the cow. And obviously he was older than me, so he always won. And then by the time I was 9, that became my job, my job. And so because of that job, much of my life, even well into high school years, my forearms here measured much more in circumference than my biceps. It wasn't until really after I graduated from high school that I really started to fill out upper body. I was really just a tall, skinny kid back in those days.
With Popeye forearms.
Exactly, with Popeye forearms.
Nice.
I never got down, crunching a can and squirting the spinach out. But
well, I'm sorry that you didn't have that experience. Give us 60 seconds on your road to Mace.
So as I finished up my master's degree in accounting from Brigham Young University, I was really set to become an IT consultant.
Okay.
That's really what my degrees had prepared me for. I specialized in accounting information systems in my master's degree. So that's less accounting, more IT.
Mm-hmm.
But I really wasn't sure that that's the right pathway for me.
Yeah.
So I interviewed with several companies to get a job there. Eventually ended up with a job offer from Price Waterhouse.
Right.
To go into their Office of Government Consulting.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, I was also applying to graduate school and eventually had an offer to go to school.
Right.
An admissions offer. That's the word I want.
There you go.
An admissions offer to go to Florida State University. And be in their PhD program there.
Yeah.
Lots of, agonizing decision making, right? If you will.
Yeah.
But a lot of thought, a lot of effort, talked to family members,
Mhm.
and eventually decided to turn down the job offer and go to school.
What was the most important reason that you made that decision?
I think the biggest reason really comes back to my mom.
Okay.
My mom was a school teacher.
Yeah.
She taught kindergarten for 30 years.
Yeah.
She had several sisters who were also in education.
Okay.
And so I grew up in an environment of being a teacher, and that was a big influence in my life of, you can impact people's lives if you're a teacher.
No question.
And that, I think, was probably the largest factor that tipped me toward academia. I went to get a PhD because I wanted to be a teacher.
Right.
And in the process of going through earning a PhD at a Research One university, then it's okay. Now you have to be focused on research.
Yeah.
Which I did that route for a while. So graduated from Florida State, went to the University of Oklahoma as assistant professor,
Mhm.
Research track. Really enjoyed my time at Oklahoma. But at the end of 6 years, I was really in the position of, Sean, you're not going to get tenure at the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I needed a new job.
Yeah.
Went on the job market, interviewed with a number of schools, eventually got an offer to come to Texas A&M, Mace Business School. But I had to make a career change in that the job offer was an academic professional track role, a non-research role.
Right.
And so that's how I got here. Best decision ever in my life.
Right. But there must have been, and you and I have talked briefly about this before, but there must have been a lot of kind of existential questioning going into the, like it to some degree, it must have felt like a failure not to get tenure. What was bound up in that process?
That's an interesting aspect of higher education, academia, especially you get a PhD. There's this intense pressure to do research to be quote unquote successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I did research. I have publications. I have publications in the top journals in my field.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of those publications came after I didn't get tenure.
Right.
But it's hard for anyone to admit failure.
Yeah.
And it took me at least 5 years after I got to Mace Business School, maybe even 10, before I would even say I didn't get tenure at Oklahoma.
Oh.
I would often tell my story of, well, I was there. I was looking for some new opportunities. My children were at the right age that if I decided if I were going to move, which I may do at some point, I should move now so I didn't disrupt my children's lives too much.
Yeah.
So that's the way I would, if you will, sugarcoat the story.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to be able to say, I failed. I failed in my first job in academia because I didn't get tenure.
Yeah.
And maybe that's too harsh, but I've come to terms with that now, and I can say it without cringing, if you will.
It seems like evaluating research as sort of as a primary driver of your career is something that's really difficult to do. I feel like many people kind of have a sense for teaching is something I would really enjoy and probably be good at. But I think research, maybe because we do so little of it we read books for book reports when we're in school. But the idea of a long multi-month, multi-year research process is just something that we don't really have much of a window on in earlier life. And so research as a career, as a primary, thrust in your career seems to be like a little bit of a black box to some degree. And you don't really know whether you're going to thrive in it, enjoy it, be good at it until you're doing it. So that's kind of I imagine there's a pretty high rate of what you're talking about where people get into it and they're like, oh, you know what? It turns out this isn't for me. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yes. I think that's actually a really astute observation. And I mean, think of the quote unquote, the rest of the people in the world, right? Everybody does research. And especially in today's social media time, oh, I read one tweet about XYZ. Now I'm the expert, right?
Yeah.
So my research is I see one tweet from whomever,
yeah,
and now I'm the expert on that topic.
Yeah. We often ask for a fondest memory of TAMU, but I get the sense you have many fondest memories. Can you share one or two of those?
Sure, I would love to do that. And let me preface with I love this university.
You're in good company.
I am so lucky to be here.
Same.
I love Texas A&M. I love Mays Business School.
Mm-hmm.
I've been lucky enough to be a faculty member here.
Yeah.
I work with interesting people. I work on interesting projects. So I'll preface everything I say with that.
The culture here is amazing.
I
No pun
can't say
intended.
enough about my affinity for my experiences here.
Yeah.
My first story I'll share is my most significant memory in Mays, and that's related to the MS Business program.
Okay.
So I worked with some really smart people to put together the MS Business program.
Yeah.
But in that committee, I was the one asked to write the first draft of the proposal for the program.
Yeah.
I wrote the first draft for all of the new courses that we created.
Yeah.
And then I shepherded that proposal through the 47 layers of bureaucracy to get it approved.
Right.
Once we had the program approved, then Mary Leigh McAnally asked me if I would be willing to be the academic director for MS Business,
Mm-hmm.
which I accepted. Obviously, you can read my resume and figure that out.
Sure.
But that actually is one of my best memories. So that year after I was appointed into that position, negotiating with not faculty members, with department heads and faculty members, I should say, to identify faculty who would be willing to step out of their comfort zone, teach a 2-credit-hour course where normally they may have taught the same topic in 3 credits, teach it in an 8-week block instead of a 16-week semester. So I was asking faculty to do some different things.
Yeah.
Then the process of recruiting students into the program, I actually sat one-on-one with every single applicant to the program to have an interview with them for 30 minutes. And I chose in that process, while we're sitting face-to-face, to extend the offer of admissions to them.
Mm-hmm.
Just a great opportunity to get to know some really, really smart students. And that initiated kind of a friendship.
Yeah.
So as we went through the first year of the program, we had some ups and downs, some bumps in the road because we didn't know for sure what we were doing. So I also then chose, I did one time in the fall semester, one in the spring semester. I set up 30-minute appointments and met with every one of the 40 students that were in the program.
Yeah.
That was impactful for me. I really developed an affinity and relationship with these students. I'll never forget when we did the integrated business experience showcase.
Yeah.
So the students have just spent 16 weeks creating a business, selling products, collecting money, etc.
Yeah.
We have a big showcase at the end, and I was so proud. To see, if you will, what my children were able to do.
Yeah.
That was significant for me. The other story I'll share is not necessarily one memory. It's kind of an ongoing memory. And this really is every time I'm at an event at this university where they play the Spirit of Aggieland.
Yeah.
Like graduation.
Yeah.
When you hear the Aggie band, da 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 da.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone stands up. Just that swell of emotion that I personally have.
Yeah.
I can never sing the first line. I'm okay, but by the time I get to the school,
Mm-hmm.
they think so grand.
Mm-hmm.
I get teary-eyed. I get choked up.
Yeah.
I have to pause, collect my emotions
Sure.
so I can finish. I don't think that'll ever go away. It's such a privilege for me to be here and have those memories and just share the family experience of everything it means to be an Aggie.
What a fantastic answer, Kyle. Clip all that. That's going on the trailer. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing all of that and for such an honest answer. You were in your current role before the pandemic. It's no secret that part of your job was to create more online learning courses and programs. Since the pandemic, you've played a role that is central to operations in a way that nobody probably would have imagined. What has been the most illuminating part of the great migration to online learning?
Yes, Dean Jones had great foresight to arrange to have me appointed in this position
Yes.
about 18 months before COVID happened.
Right.
It's very illuminating for me about just how agile the university is and Mays Business School. So here we have Texas A&M University, very large organization.
Yeah.
Like almost every other large organization or institution, we have these institutionalized bureaucratic processes.
Yeah.
We're not known for being overly flexible. We're not known for being overly fast moving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we make decisions, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
But almost a year ago right now.
Yeah.
Right? A year ago right now, we're hearing rumors. We're just starting going into spring break.
Yeah.
Okay, so suddenly the decision's made Thursday of that week. COVID's really impacting us. We're going to go online.
Yeah.
And so a week later, we release all our courses online. I mean, just think of the scope of that action and decision
Mm-hmm.
and how agile we were able to be.
Right.
4,000 to 5,000 faculty, 70,000 students,
Yeah.
somewhere around 10,000 courses, all in the space of a week. We redesign and put it online. I think that's just amazing.
It's pretty astounding. What has been, so aside from the speed at which we moved into it, what has been the most pleasant surprise about online learning? What has surprised you in a good way?
I think it's very related to that.
Okay.
I've been in academia for 25 years.
Yeah.
I was a student in higher education for 10 years.
Yeah.
Many people have had an experience similar to my experience in intermediate accounting as a junior in the BYU accounting program.
Mm-hmm.
Faculty member had been around for a very long time, almost at retirement. We come into class. He brings in old transparencies to lay on the thing that had dates from the 80s, printed on them. Right?
Yeah.
So it was very obvious that he was using material that had been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think many people have had at least one professor who that they might say that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they never say that about me, but I have been known to use the same material in the past.
Okay.
So then in my role as the assistant dean for academic transformation in the Mace Business School, I've had a number of conversations in the last 2.5 years about, what can and should we be doing online?
Mm-hmm.
Should we, for example, have an online MBA? Should we look at our undergraduate program and have an online version of it available?
Right.
Collectively, in general, across faculty, administrators in Mays during this time, the answer is, well, our faculty just aren't ready. It's just too much to ask for them to do that. And yet, the COVID pandemic comes along and we changed.
Yeah.
And in fact, we made it look easy.
Yeah.
And so, if you will, the most pleasant surprise for me is, quote unquote, how easy we made it look.
Right. What was the most unpleasant surprise about that whole process?
So that's, the rest of the iceberg, right? You see the tip of the iceberg. Oh, it's really easy, right?
Right.
So what's
It
underneath
happens
the
so
iceberg to
fast.
keep it up?
Right.
And so I guess really most surprising for me is the mental, emotional, and physical stress
Mm-hmm.
all of us have had to experience as a result.
Yeah.
What we're doing is hard.
Yeah. No doubt.
So let me kind of set the scenario again. I mentioned earlier, right? So it was a year ago that this happened.
Yeah.
So a year ago today, if you looked across Mays Business School, Texas A&M University, most faculty had one mode of delivering their course. Walk into the classroom,
Yeah. Synchronous,
talk to the students, walk out, have the students do their assignment.
Yep.
Yes, we had pockets across campus and even in Mays with some online courses. There are a few online programs. The business minor, for the most part, had almost exclusively online.
Mm-hmm.
We have the MS Analytics program that was delivering courses where the faculty members in the classroom with roughly half the students were connecting simultaneously with Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, we didn't have names for any of those ways of delivering education, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now here we are 1 year later. On the Keep Teaching website, we have 5 listed delivery modalities.
Yeah.
Face-to-face,
Yeah.
face-to-face with a remote option, meaning you can connect simultaneously.
Right.
Face-to-face with remote meetings. So one day or 2 days you're face-to-face, other days you're connected remotely 100%.
Right.
Remote synchronous, remote asynchronous.
Yeah.
So now if you look across our Wayner, you look across campus, faculty members have at least 2 modalities that they've been required to learn.
Right.
Many faculty have been asked to learn 3 or more modalities.
Yeah.
Now look at the students. It's relatively common for a student to have 5 courses in a semester. So theoretically, a student this semester, 5 courses, 5 delivery modalities. I could be required as a student to attend class 5 different ways. Everything is different.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think we really expected that as we started, a year ago saying, well, what are we going to do in the fall? How are we going to deliver our courses? And then we invented these names for these modalities, and we want to be accommodating. We want to be flexible.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Sure.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
And give credit to all my colleagues, give credit to the students, the staff. There's been some significant learning and effort that's had to happen as a result of COVID. And I think that's really kind of the most unpleasantness is we like to be comfortable in our lives.
Sure.
And it's hard to have all this discomfort.
There's a lot of chaos around that. If you could paint an ideal picture of what Maze looks like in 10 years in terms of online learning, what would you like to make happen? What things would you change moving forward? What mindsets are required for us to accomplish these goals?
So online going into the future, 10 years from now, I'm confident that we will have some fully online programs. I know that the info department has just had approval to offer a version of their master's in MIS online.
Mm-hmm.
If they recruit enough students, that will start this fall.
Yeah.
But I think we'll have more of that. And I also believe that we will not go back to face-to-face only.
Yeah.
I think from convenience of the students, even from convenience of the faculty to some extent, we've demonstrated we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's figure out when are the best situations to do it as we go forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe there are some courses based upon the topics that are covered and the approach that's taken that it's best that we bring everyone face to face and have this high touch interactive experience in a physical classroom.
Sure.
On the other hand, there are definitely some courses where it may not require that type of interaction based upon the topics that are covered and the approach the faculty wants to take. So let's identify those courses and figure out what's the best delivery modality for that particular course.
Okay.
And that's what I see happening in 10 years. I think we will go down our pathway and figure out what works best for faculty, what works best for students, so that we can continue to improve the way we deliver education.
Yeah. Love that. All right, let's move to rapid fire. If you could have a billboard anywhere with anything on it, where would it be? What would it say?
In the mid-90s, Joe Diffie had a song, John Deere Green. You might be familiar with that song.
I'm familiar, yes.
So he sings about a country boy who green paint sprays Billy Bob Loves Charlene on the water tower.
Yeah.
That's what I'd do. Big billboard on one of the water towers at College Station. Jon Jasperson loves his wife.
I love that. What do you think is people's biggest misconception of you?
I'm a physically big person.
Okay.
I don't recognize that, but people looking at me do.
Yeah.
I also speak quite confidently. I have a pretty strong voice.
Okay.
And I think people are intimidated by my size and my self-confidence.
Yeah.
But the reality is I'm just a big soft teddy bear.
Anyone you would like to send good bull?
So I've worked with so many amazing people in my career. But I'm going to highlight just a few really quickly. One, Angie Perry.
Mm-hmm.
I hired Angie in October last year to help me get the Aggie Proctoring Center running.
Yeah.
She's been fabulous. She takes care of the day-to-day activities. She helped me interview and hire 60 graduate students. Kudos to Angie. Bill Peel. Bill started at Mays Business School about the same time that I did in my current role.
Okay.
So he had a new role. I had a new role. Dean Jones actually gave both of us an assignment to think strategically about how Mays can move into online learning.
Right.
Which led to me working very closely with Bill on that front, but on a number of things. And so the good bull for Bill, I think he really deserves a lot of recognition and credit for his work on the program of requirements the last couple of years on envisioning what a new addition might be at Mays Business School.
Fantastic. Great bull to Bill. And thank you. Good bull to you, Sean. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the episode with Dr. Jasperson. I wanted to start by talking about how much he loves Texas A&M. It is always so fun to hear Sean talk about his love for A&M. He almost always tears up. That is not the first time I've heard him tear up when he talks about A&M, which is so cool. I have a thing where I end up tearing up at every single A&M game at some point, either like when the team runs out on the field or during the Spirit of Aggieland or something with the halftime show. So Ryan and I always afterwards, he's like, so where did you tear up this time? But I wear my sunglasses so no one can see me tearing up. No, I'm just kidding. I try to show that I have a heart every once in a while. But man, A&M can really do it to you. Can really make you tear up.
Yeah, sure can. I'm about to watch this. Porter Garner's office sent this to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Aggies, the true story of Texas A&M.
Oh, how cool.
So, yeah, thanks, Porter.
That's awesome.
And Kathy.
Yeah, that's
thanks
really
for getting
cool.
this over.
There's so many good moments, so many of those good Aggie spirit moments that will move even the hardest of hearts, Ben Wiggins.
Oh, I don't think my heart is as hard
kidding.
as some.
Your heart is not hard at all.
Oh, you were trolling me. Dang it.
My heart's
You got
probably
me.
harder than yours. You also say that sometimes on the show. Even warm your cold, frosty heart or whatever.
Warm the cockles of my frosty heart. Yeah, I like saying that. That's a good phrase.
I'm just giving you a hard time. For our second takeaway, moving on, I wanted to talk about Sean not making tenure and how a few things about that I thought were really interesting. First, when he said he wouldn't tell people that at first. He would say they moved because it was time for their kids to move, all kinds of different reasons besides just not making tenure, which is for a lot of people embarrassing, but also okay. It put him on a different career path that was interesting and probably more aligned with his passions now where he is than in a tenured position. So it's interesting that it was a source of shame, but now is certainly something that he can embrace.
I have a feeling that if I'd gone into academia, I don't think I would have gotten tenure either. I just don't think it would have been for me.
I'd love to see, because I think there's so many aspects of being a faculty member that would be such a good fit for you. People tell me all the time that you should get a PhD, but I also know that you wouldn't play a game you weren't enjoying. And I think with going for tenure, a lot of people enjoy it. But even if you don't, you have to put your head down and you have to go through it and you have to put in the work and put in the time. And I don't know that you would sign up for something like that. I've seen you pivot enough to know that you would have no problem pivoting out of that if you didn't feel like it completely aligned with all of your goals, personal and professional, which I think is a good skill that you have.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The only thing that I'm willing to be mediocre at long term is Overwatch.
Put a lot of time in to just be mediocre.
Yeah, I'm like slightly above average.
I'm sure you're better than that.
I promise I'm not. To me, I think my philosophy toward research would probably be something like if I can be really good at this and do it really, really well and kind of be at the, figure out a way to do it in a cutting edge type of way and like figure out a way to kind of change the game or to like put a new spin on it, like do something new or something that hasn't been done before. That could be really exciting. But if it was just something like, I'm going to grind it out to be average at this, if I'm going to grind it out to be average at something, it's going to be like high level entrepreneurship. I wouldn't want to be sort of just kind of middle of the road from a faculty perspective. I want to let people who are better at that do that well. And I'm going to go do something else that I can be really good at and change people's lives.
Yeah, let's go.
From somewhere else.
For our last takeaway, I wanted to talk about the integrated business experience, which Sean only talked about a little bit, but I think it's one of the coolest things that we do at Maze. And just to give a little bit of background, it's a course that the students take, but it's integrated with all of their other business courses. And it's just in the Master's of Science in Business program that Sean talked about, which is a 1-year graduate program that students can complete right after they complete their undergraduate degree. So typically students, let's say a student graduates from engineering undergrad, they would go straight into the MS Business program, complete that in a year, and then go out into the job market. And it's a great program. So many things about it are great. But this integrated business experience, abbreviated IBE, is an opportunity for students to start a business and close it down all within one semester. And they get a loan from the bank, which they repay. And then any proceeds go to charity. So it's a really cool class in that it's an amazing learning experience. The students learn all kinds of great things about the challenges of starting a business, about the logistics of starting a business, about how to find a market for a business. And then they also get to make an impact on the community by donating the proceeds to an organization, a nonprofit organization, typically in town, which is a cool contribution our students make.
Yeah, I think that learning to choose, we talked about this with Kyle Gammenthaler a couple of years ago, but the idea of figuring out how to choose a charitable organization, I think that's a piece of the process that would be particularly compelling for me is we've got this money now, like we've got to, where can we put it that it will do the most good? What matters the most to us? You know, how do we go forward? Who do we trust with this? Yeah,
that's certainly a big kind of side benefit of it. And then, of course, the focus on entrepreneurship. I think about you and I starting different businesses, but if we had had that experience at any point in college of starting this business in class where it's safe and you have peers who are helping you, there's a lot of learning that would have taken place and that would have maybe saved us some learning later down the road. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Laura Lee Hughes is the professor in that course. So good friend of the show who runs that course, which is awesome. She makes a great contribution to Maze in that way.
Yeah, that's great. Love Laura Lee.
Yeah. Well, do you want to close us with a quote?
I would love to. I know of no other advice than this. Go within and scale the depths of your being from which your very life springs forth. At its source, you will find the answer to the question whether you must write. Accept it, however it sounds to you, without analyzing. Rainer Rilke.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
An MBA from Texas A&M University can take your career to a whole new level. With full-time and weekend options, Texas A&M suits your schedule. So get a better gig. Visit mba.tamu.edu.
Looking to start a podcast? Trying to tackle questions like, how do I record? How do I edit? How can I get music for my show? What equipment do I need? How do I distribute it? Good news. The podcast architects are here to help. Whether that's from start to finish, fixing the audio quality, helping you get the episodes posted, go to podconsulting.co. Everyone has something worth sharing with the world.